everybody. My name is Wannabe Reviewer, and welcome to the Wannabe Podcast, Episode 1. If you're listening to this, thank you very much for giving me a chance and, tuning in. I gotta admit, I'm kind of nervous, which is funny because the videos I do on YouTube are all about me talking and putting myself out there. But I'm still nervous because this is like a totally different thing. While those videos are all about, scripted works and all that, this is more informal. It's me talking and stuff. Hopefully all in like one take if it's possible. And I'm just nervous, I'm excited because I've been wanting to do something new like this for a while, but I'll admit I'm nervous. So like I said, if you're watching this / listening to this, thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, before I begin, let me explain basically what the podcast is gonna be, because I know in my announcement video I kind of said to tune in here. So the way it should work is that hopefully every week, if things go well, I will do a podcast and it'll have 4 segments. Now these could change obviously depending on reception I get and stuff like that. But the 4 segments I have planned out for now are: number 1, I open by talking about my week. I don't really do too much exciting things in my life, I'll admit. I don't really go out or go anywhere, but what I do is that I consume a lot of media. So basically during my week, I would think that's a good spot to talk about games I might have played, anime, movies, TV shows I might have watched, my thoughts on them, and whether or not I recommend them. I think that'd be kind of cool to do because, hey, you come to my channel for that kind of stuff anyway, so this gives me a chance to cover more topics all at once, The second segment is where I basically jump into the media rabbit hole to talk about news having to do with one of the big 4, anime, movies, TV shows, video games, basically just stuff during the week that I thought was interesting and that I want to share with you guys. That could be anything from like a video game / movie trailer to some sort of news article, or maybe information about a game that got released, or a leak or something. Just anything that seems relevant to one of those 4 topics that I want to share with you guys that I think might be interesting. After that, the third segment is something that I think is really special, which is basically what I call my content creator spotlight. And what that is that basically, not just YouTube, but I will admit it comes mostly from YouTube, but because of how YouTube has been treating content creators, where I feel like it's screwing them over more and more and demonetizing their stuff and taking away their videos and stuff. Like, basically, if you follow YouTube at all, you should know that they don't treat their content creators right. And it's just getting worse and worse. And so basically, my content creator spotlight, it doesn't have to be YouTubers, it could also be people from Twitter or Tumblr that do art that I notice and I think is cool. But basically during this segment, it's me taking the time out to say, hey, look at what this person made. I appreciate it. I think it's cool. I think you guys should check it out. As someone who makes videos and puts myself out there, I know how hard it can be to really open up to strangers and share your stuff. And I know that a big part of making videos is you want people to like them and you hope people notice what you're making. And so basically with the content creator spotlight, that's me saying, hey, I saw some of your stuff. I appreciate it. I think other people should see it too. And it's a cool way for me to recommend cool stuff to you guys that I think you guys might enjoy. My fourth and final segment, this one isn't really much of a segment, but basically for my fourth thing that I want to do for every video is I want to have some sort of an outro song. Now, because of how copyright works, I know that what you can really use is limited, but what I have noticed with like other podcasts I've listened to and streams is that covers and video game soundtrack music, usually you can get away with showing. So what I plan to do at the end of each video is have some sort of cover or video game song at the end. I think this would be cool because it's not only a cool way to end every episode, but it also is a way to share music that I enjoy with you guys. And in the future, and I guess this is me really looking forward, but if in the future people, hey, if you guys want to send in fan art, I'd appreciate it. And I think that'd be cool to just have fan art at the end of the videos while music's playing. I think that would be a really cool thing to showcase. I'm kind of embarrassed now because I'm talking about fan art and all this stuff, and I don't even know if the podcast is even going to work out. It might be terrible, but I know I've been ranting for a bit, so basically those are the 4 segments. With that out of the way, let's get started, and of course, let me get into my week. So for my week, I've been pretty busy with work and getting the podcast ready and all sorts of personal, in real life stuff. However, the one thing that I did do is that I watched a lot of anime. All right. Basically, because of how the anime season is ending, I think this weekend, I had fallen behind and I really wanted to catch up so that I can see all those, finales and be ready for when the next season starts. So I watched a bunch of anime, and I'm not going to talk about all the anime I watched just yet because I'd rather talk about them next week once most of the series end. That way I can talk about them, like the whole series. However, there is some anime I want to talk about. The first anime I want to talk about is Asobi Asobase. And this anime is so weird trying to describe it, but all I can say, it is hilarious. Like every week I was excited to watch it. It always made me laugh out loud. Basically what this anime is, it's about 3 girls that form a pastimers club. And basically what they do in this club is they do pastime activities. They play different games and stuff. And the thing about this anime that really makes it funny, though, is that if you look at the intro and if you look at like the first few minutes of like the first episode, it looks like it's your standard slice of life, moe anime about cute girls doing cute things. But then that whole thing just gets subverted. And the best way to describe it is that some people have called it like a mean-spirited Nishijo. If you've ever seen Nishijo in My Ordinary Life. And basically it's like that, where everything around the girls is just super over the top and crazy, and they get into all these misadventures. So it's like that, but the thing is that it's also kind of like crude. So it's like this weird mix of like crazy facial expressions and weird crude jokes and shock humor, and it's weird to describe, but it's one of those things where like if you enjoy stuff such as Hinamatsuri or Konosuba, that kind of humor, I think you'll love this. The humor is really dumb, like there's some really dumb jokes, but they make me laugh. Like there's this butler that can shoot lasers out of his butt, and there's this other part where there's like this teacher that some water leaks through the bottom of a door, and he wants to know what's happening, and the girls say that they pissed themselves because they don't want to admit that they have a pool in the classroom, and he tastes it for whatever reason, even though he thinks it's piss, because he has like a little mental image of Detective Conan standing right next to him, and so he tastes it, and it's not pee, obviously it's water, and he's like super disappointed in the girls, and they're just creeped out because why did he taste it if he thought it was pee, and just dumb jokes like that. They're like super over the top, but as you're watching it, it's really funny. I definitely recommend it. It's the kind of thing where you just have to check it out for yourself, because trying to describe it's just kind of hard, honestly. Like it's just dumb, but it's funny, trust me. The next anime I want to talk about is Angels of Death, and woof, this anime was trippy. Basically Angels of Death, it's based on like a little RPG style maker game, and it's about this girl named Rachel Gardner who wakes up in this mysterious facility with amnesia, and she starts wandering around, and as she does, this guy who calls himself Zach, that wears like a hoodie and bandages and carries around a scythe, he's chasing her, trying to kill her, because she's on his floor, I guess, of the facility. And as she runs away, she starts to like remember some stuff, and she gets really depressed, and she starts feeling guilty, I guess. And so she just kind of says, go ahead and kill me. But when he looks at her, he's like, nah, it's not even worth it anymore. Like, you're so emotionless and depressed now, like there's no fun in it. And so from there, because she wants to die though, they strike up this weird like team up where she's like, okay, if I help you escape from here, because she's really smart, she's like, if I help you escape from here, do you promise to kill me? And he's like, sure, whatever, that works for me. I want to get out of here. And so they team up, and they start going through the facility, basically fighting other weird, like, serial killer people. And it's just like a really weird anime. It has like this creepy atmosphere. It's like really gory, and it's just like very strange. Like half the time you don't really know what's happening in the story. And the story itself, like the relationship between Zach and Rachel's really strange too, because there's all these people trying to kill her, and you think that if she really wants to die, she would just say, screw it, let me die, kill me. But then when they try to kill her, she's like, nah, though, only Zach can kill me because I made that promise to him. And they're like, well, why does it matter? You know, who cares about him if he gets out of here? Just, you know, let us kill you, whatever. You know, everybody wants to kill her for different reasons. And she's like, nah, though, I saved myself for Zach. He's going to kill me. And if that sounds weird to you, trust me, it's really weird. It has kind of this weird, like, sadomasochistic vibe to it, to like the relationship. It's just really weird. Best way to describe the atmosphere and like all the puzzles and stuff that they solve along the way, because, you know, if you remember, I said it's based on a game. Kind of reminds me of Silent Hill 2, where basically it's people dealing with their inner demons, and so the atmosphere around them represents them and materializes them in like metaphorical ways. So it's a really strange anime. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it as much as Asobi Asobase. This one, if you look on like my anime list, it has like a little below a 7, and I think that's about right. I think it's pretty, you know, it's not great, but it's not terrible. I mean, if you love horror on anime, you love mysteries and stuff, gory stuff, maybe check it out. But I don't know, it's one of those things where I don't recommend it as much as Asobi Asobase, but if you want to check it out, it's not terrible either. It's interesting enough. The other anime I want to talk about next is Persona 5, the animation. And basically, even though it's not over yet, there's only one episode left. And with how disappointing it's been so far, I don't think that episode is going to make a difference anyway. So that's why I'm going to talk about it. Basically, all you need to know about Persona 5, the animation, if you haven't checked it out yet, is that it is pretty lackluster. If you've seen my review for Persona 5, you know, like the actual video game for PS4 and PS3, if you've seen my review for that, then you should know that I love that game. I thought it was great. I think it's one of like the most stylish, cool games out there. Everything about it is just this full package. It's such a great, polished game. And, you know, that's the thing. When I heard there was an anime coming out, I was wondering, what's the point of an anime? The game is already so complete. It has such a great story and everything already. And the one thing I was hoping it was going to do is like, okay, with it being a turn-based RPG, how about the anime gives us fully animated and choreographed fights? That would be super cool. And since the social links with the confidants are basically stuff you kind of click through and make choices, you know, visual novel style kind of, I was like, how about they really animate the relationships with the other people and stuff and give us like full actual stories? That'd be cool. So for me, as long as we got cool fights and as long as we had cool relationships, you know, put on screen where we can kind of see like an actual story instead of just like visual novel stuff, I would have been happy. Unfortunately, though, the anime is very mediocre and very watered down compared to the game. The fights are basically non-existent. Basically, the fights comprise of people shouting an elemental attack. You see an enemy get hit by a said elemental attack. That's the whole fight. It's like they just blow through fights if they even bother to have fights. As for the confidant stuff, the confidants are barely even around. They feel like cameos in the episodes. You might see them in the background. They have an appearance. That's it. They're not fleshed out at all. And even the story itself is watered down. Basically, it's just rushed, and they blow through all the dungeons and all the story and story beats just, you know, because they had to hurry up, because this is a 100-hour game they had to cover in like 26 episodes of anime. So it's just fully rushed. You don't even get all the good story beats. And so, yeah, this is really disappointing, honestly. I don't recommend it at all. If you're wondering if you should watch it, I would say just go play the game for yourself or watch a Let's Play. Because this anime is just very mediocre, very blah. So, you know. The last anime I want to talk about is FLCL Alternative. I actually watched that last night before recording this. And so far, there's 3 episodes out. I'm caught up. I've watched all 3 episodes. And what I want to say so far is that I like it. I think it's better than Progressive. I don't think Progressive was bad at all by any means. I think people who say FLCL Progressive was like a piece of crap or whatever, I think they're being a little harsh. You know, I don't think it was that bad. I think it had some cool stuff to it. But I think Alternative is definitely better. I think the characters are more likable. I think that the overall story just feels more relatable, if that makes sense. I mean, in Progressive, it was this girl who was always just acting kind of emo and sulking and walking around looking sad. Here, it's this ensemble of girls going through growing up as crazy FLCL stuff happens around them, and Haruko shows up, and, you know, it just feels more fun, I guess is like the thing. It just feels more fun. I think Progressive had a better ending song, and up to now at least, it had better robot fights, but Alternative definitely has better likable characters and like a much funner story to follow. As I said, it's only halfway, so, it could still get much better or much worse. I guess we'll see. The one thing I do want from it is that I really hope that they connect it to the original Fooly Cooly, because Progressive didn't really connect to it at all, which is something I was really disappointed about. So I think it'd be cool if this connected to Fooly Cooly, the classic one, in some way. Maybe a appearance by the main character. But I mean, if it doesn't happen, then I guess whatever. But like I said, I guess we'll see. Moving on to games and movies. I actually didn't get to play any games or watch any movies. Like I said, I was really busy. Anime took up most of my time, that and personal stuff. However, what I did want to talk about was BoJack Horseman. I may have watched that a couple weeks ago. It's not exactly anything from this week. It's not that fresh, but I've had it on my mind for so long. I just really want to talk about BoJack Horseman real quick. That show continues to be incredible. Even though it's a show about a cartoon horse person who's a celebrity, and he has a friend who's like a dog with sunglasses, and his agent's a cat, and all that dumb cartoony stuff, The places that show go are incredible. And like the way it satirizes stuff in our world is it's crazy. For anyone who hasn't watched the newest season or the show at all, for whatever reason, I recommend you go watch it. Just find a way to watch it. I mean, do yourself that service. I don't really want to spoil the show, but what I do want to talk about is like some key points. So one thing I want to talk about is that churro episode. It's episode 6, I believe. It's called Free Churro. And while I know I'm not the first person to talk about it, I think anyone who watched this season has talked about how that episode is incredible. I just want to, give my 2 cents about it, because it is about 18 minutes straight of BoJack Horseman's voice actor, Will Arnett, just giving this monologue, because it's supposed to be like he's giving a eulogy at a funeral. And so it's just 18 minutes straight of him monologuing, just talking to himself. And the whole scene, the whole episode is just the scene of BoJack standing next to a casket at a podium talking. And we never cut away from that until like the ending. But that's the whole episode. We're just staring at him up at the podium, giving the eulogy. And the speech he gives is just so crazy and deep and so full of emotions, you know what I mean? It's him talking about loss and death, and how the person that's, I'm not going to spoil who's dead, although you might be able to guess it, but it's him talking about the person that's dead and what it's like to know that they're dead now, and how his relationship with them isn't at all what he wanted it to be, and how now that they're gone, it never will be, and coming to a realization that family can let you down, and coming to the realization that the stuff you see on TV isn't the way life works sometimes. And he starts talking about how he would watch TV as his form of escapism. And it's just this crazy, really well written, really well directed, really well voice acted episode that just hits hard, because it's just one character the whole episode spilling their guts. And it's just an incredible episode. Like, they've had different concept episodes before on the show, like the one where BoJack went underwater and he doesn't talk once. It's all, visual. They've had episodes like that where they do crazy stuff, but this one for me takes the cake. I've rewatched that episode like 3 times because it's just that good. As for the rest of the season, it was really good. They keep going crazy places. They keep doing crazy stuff with BoJack. I think it was really smart the way they satirize and kind of poke fun at how we forgive and kind of how we forgive and kind of glamorize crappy behavior in other people. They have an episode about, a celebrity apology tour and how we basically, act like we're super outraged about it. And then a few years pass and that celebrity, despite no matter what they did, they can get their career back, even though they said and did terrible things. I also thought it was really interesting the way they kind of satirize and poke fun at the Me Too movement, which I think that's something serious. I don't think you should joke about it per se, but I think the way they do it, where they kind of open up a dialogue about it and draw attention to it by, making jokes about it. I mean, you have to watch the episode to see what I mean. I thought that was really smart, and I thought it was really well done. And I also thought it was really cool how they addressed the whole thing about anti-heroes. Because as you're watching BoJack Horseman, he's definitely a protagonist that does some terrible stuff that you shouldn't idolize. And similar to him, there's all these shows like Breaking Bad and Rick and Morty where some people look at Walter White or Rick, and even though these guys who do some terrible crap and they're obviously bad role models, people look at them as heroes. And I like how this show kind of addresses that. And it kind of like goes like, what's wrong with you? Why are you idolizing these guys who are so like gritty and angsty? Like just because they're the protagonist doesn't mean they're the hero. That doesn't mean you're supposed to root for them. And I just thought that was really well done. I thought the season was once again incredible. It has stuff that pulls at the heartstrings. It has some stuff that made me laugh out loud. And like I said, do yourself a favor, watch the season. And I know I've been ranting a lot about stuff I watched, so let's get to something a little more constructive. Let's move on to the news. So in the news this week, the first story I want to talk about was the fact that Telltale Games is shutting down. And not only is it shutting down, but it is shutting down in probably the messiest way possible. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, Telltale Games is the studio who is famous for the Walking Dead series. Not the TV show, the game. And, they've made a lot of stuff. They made The Walking Dead. They've made Tales from the Borderlands. They made a few Batman games. They made Minecraft Story Mode. They made... what else did they make? The Wolf Among Us. Oh man, I can't believe I almost forgot that. And basically, Telltale Studios, it's like kind of like point and click, like adventure type games. Basically, they're shutting down because they apparently spent too much money on acquiring licenses, and it's just a whole mess. You guys can read up the stories. I have them linked. But basically, they just have a terrible business model where they just spent all their money on acquiring big licenses, and they would hire people for like a year. They were under contract, then they would fire them, and they would hire new people, and they were always in crunch mode, trying to push games out. And I guess eventually this caught up with them, and so they're shutting down. And what's crazy is that it was out of nowhere, though. I mean, not out of nowhere. People could tell that their sales weren't doing too good, but it feels out of nowhere in the sense that The Walking Dead, the final season, just had like an episode come out like earlier this month, or I think it was earlier this month, either that or like late last month, and now they're just shutting down. And as for that game that they were in the middle of making and that people bought, yeah, they pulled down the game from all digital stores, and basically they're saying, yeah, we're not going to be able to finish it. And so people are pissed, and from the employee side, there's a lot of employees right now that are trying to sue Telltale Games because apparently Telltale wasn't paying them and isn't giving them severance packages and didn't give them any warning that they were getting fired. And so the whole thing is just crazy. All I can say is that, number one, super disappointed because I was really looking forward to some games like, for instance, The Wolf Among Us. I'd been waiting years for a sequel. They had just announced it, and now we're never going to get it, which I'm super pissed about. But at the same time, number two, all I can say is that I hope these people who work for Telltale, I hope they land on their feet. I wish them the best, because when a studio screws you over and, like games get canceled, don't be mad at the people who made the game. Get mad at the studio. The employees didn't do anything. So I wish them the best. I hope they find other jobs. Moving on. Something else that was in the news is that apparently a PlayStation Classic is announced and it's going to launch December 3rd. Similar to the NES Classic and the SNES Classic. Basically, the PlayStation Classic is like a small version of the, PlayStation 1 that's going to have some games preloaded onto it. I actually have the store right here in front of me. Apparently, like I said, launched December 3rd in North America, Europe, and Japan for what's about the equivalent of, $99 or, 99 pounds. And apparently games that'll come with it will be Final Fantasy VII, Jumping Flash, Tekken 3, Wild Arms. Says that there's supposed to be 20 titles. Those are the ones it mentioned. And all I can say is that, if you're able to get your hands on one of these, good for you. Honestly, I don't know how hard it's going to be to get your hands on these, because I tried to get myself an NES Classic and SNES Classic when they came out, and I was not able to acquire them because they were sold out instantaneously. And I mean, if I want one, I could always pay a scalper like 5 times the price. So I don't know if the same thing's going to happen with these, but hey, if you can get one, more power to you. Maybe you'll even be able to mod it and put more games on there. So, I mean, that's a thing, obviously. Speaking of PlayStation, another story that's big right now is that Sony is finally integrating cross-platform gameplay. For anyone who doesn't know what this means, that means that basically Sony had this weird policy where even though gamers want to be able to play with people on other consoles, Sony was basically saying no. So, even though Microsoft and Switch allow people to play Fortnite, for instance, together despite different consoles, Sony was refusing. They were just like, no, because Sony is the best and PlayStation's the ultimate experience, and they were just being weird. They're being stupid. Basically, they're being like elitists. But they finally, I guess, cracked under pressure, gave people what they want, and they're starting to integrate cross-platform gameplay. And I mean, since Fortnite is like the biggest game in the world right now, they're beginning with Fortnite. I think it says here, they released like an open beta allowing the cross-platform play. I think it was on Wednesday. So yeah, so if you're listening to this, that was like 2 days ago. So yeah, I mean, they're finally starting to integrate that. I mean, finally, good for them. They're catching up, I guess. Personally, well, this isn't too big of a deal for me because I don't really play that much multiplayer online anyway. It's cool, I guess, I know some people who play Fortnite on the PS4, and so if I'm able to maybe, grab my Switch and play with them on the couch or in bed, then hey, why not, I'm not complaining. Extra features are a good thing. I mean, if it's something that's bringing people together, then why not? Speaking of bringing people together, have you guys all heard of Bowsette? For anyone who doesn't know, Bowsette is something that, as I wrote down here on the docket, Bowsette is taking the world by storm. I'm sorry, this is just a funny story. But basically, for anyone who doesn't know, Bowsette came about because there's this game called Super Mario Bros. Wii U that's going to get ported to the Switch. And in the trailer for the game, they showed that the character Toadette can apparently turn into Peach if she grabs like this little crown power-up. And when she grabs the crown power-up, she looks like Peach, but with like the little Toadette pigtails. And she's dubbed Peachette. And for a lot of people, this opened up a whole floodgate of lore about whether or not Peach herself might be about if Peach herself might be a toad. And if the only reason she looks the way she does is because of the power-up. And while some people were, busy with that lore implication and all that good stuff, one very brave hero took this in a different direction. And I guess he's decided that for him, the lore was that anyone who puts on the crown becomes like a Peach version of themselves. And so he drew this comic where after Super Mario Odyssey, spoilers, after the end of Super Mario Odyssey, where Mario and Bowser both get stood up by Peach when they propose to her, apparently Bowser grabs the little crown item and puts it on. And then the image of the comic cuts to Mario and this like Peach with horns and super busty and with like the spike choker. Apparently they're together, and Peach just has this look on her face like she's super shocked. And I guess the implication is that that's Bowser in his Peach form together with Mario to make Peach jealous. And from there, the fan art took off. And I mean, if you haven't seen this up to now, I would be super surprised because the art is everywhere. Everyone's making their own version of this. People apparently love the design. And it's just this crazy thing where if you go on Reddit, if you go on Twitter, people are sharing image upon image of Bowsette. Because people apparently are just super into the horns and the thick eyebrows and this being like a busty Peach who's tough. And I don't know, I think it's really hilarious how everyone has like just come together with this weird kink or whatever. I think it's funny. I know there's some people out there who are kind of mad and grossed out by this, but I don't know. I just think people are having fun with it. I just think it's, take it like that. People are having fun. At the end of the day, it's just Peach. It's a Peach model with horns. And she just looks, more tough. She doesn't look like a pushover. And that's it, just take it like that. Guys and girls everywhere, all around the world, apparently, appreciate a lady that doesn't take no shit and is kind of muscular and tough, I guess. I mean, take that away from it, you know what I mean? At least it's not creepy animal porn or weird lolly stuff, you know what I mean? if you think it's weird, just whatever, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's a fad. It'll probably pass by like a week, you know what I mean? Last week, the whole meme was about how Isabelle was in Smash and there was all this fan art of her. This week it's Bowsette. Wait for it to blow over and it will. No reason to freak out. Personally, I think it's funny. And yeah, I just want to talk about that because it's just so weird. It's just hilarious. The fact that mangakas in Japan made their own versions. Like the guy who did One Punch Man made his own version. I think the guy who like designed Chun-Li made his own version. I think the guy who drew Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid made his own version. So, I don't know. It's just funny how widespread it is, but if you don't like it, then, you know, whatever. That's your opinion. I respect it, and I would just say wait for this all to blow over. I'm sure it will soon. And if you do enjoy it, then hey, more power to you. Enjoy the fun. Enjoy it while it lasts. Download as much of it as you can, I guess, you know, and send me some. Anyway, so that aside, going from one waifu to another, Valhalla is getting a sequel called Nirvana that's coming out for PS4, Switch, and PC soon. So for anyone who doesn't know, Valhalla is this, I'm not really sure what genre you could call it. I guess it's like a point and click, basically. I guess you can call it like a point and click, maybe, because you make decisions, I guess. But basically, Valhalla is this game about being this girl who's a bartender, and the gameplay consists of you sitting down and making drinks for people, and they talk to you, and basically, it's just like a very dialogue-heavy game. It's more about the atmosphere and just being chill and stuff. There's not that much gameplay. And apparently, it's getting a sequel. It should be coming out, I think it says here, in 2019. And like I said, for PS4, Switch, and PC. So if you enjoyed the first game, then there you go. I mean, it's getting a sequel, so that's fun. I especially am looking forward to the fact that it's coming out on Switch, because I've really enjoyed coming... wait, hold on. Oh, it's actually coming out in 2020. Wow. It's coming out farther along than I thought. So in 2020, I'm sorry. But yeah, if you enjoyed the first game, there you go. There's a sequel coming out. And if you haven't seen the first game, I would say go look it up. Like I said, it's not very heavy on gameplay and it's more about the atmosphere, but it's a very chill game. And just watching like a Let's Play of it or playing it yourself to kill some time is definitely really fun. So yeah, like I said, I'm excited for it to come out. I'll probably grab it on the Switch so I can have it on the go. So, you know, there you go. Moving on. There's a few movie trailers out this week that I want to talk about. The first is the Bumblebee movie trailer. Or to be exact, I guess this is the second trailer, because I think the other one was more like a teaser trailer. And all I can say about it is I'm not a big fan of the Transformers movies, except for maybe the first one. I kind of like the first one because it was something new. It was kind of cool seeing people and robots, you know, come to life. So I'm not a fan at all of the Transformers movies. And I can easily see this becoming really crappy and going the direction of all the other ones, full of huge explosions and stupid dialogue and stuff. However, from what I saw, there did seem like there was some potential. And I think that if they really do stick to the story of Bumblebee and this girl and, you know, their friendship, it could be better than the other ones. So I'm hoping it sticks to that. Hopefully it doesn't fall into the same trap as the other ones, but I guess we'll see. Like I said, I don't have too much of an interest in it. I might watch it when it's like really cheap, you know, like a matinee special or something, or maybe I'll just wait and stream it when it's out. I'm not too excited for it, but I will admit that it does at least look better than some of the past ones, but I guess we'll see. The other movie trailer I want to talk about is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of... Oh god, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Is it Grindelwald? I don't know. The point is, Fantastic Beasts, Part 2, basically. And same thing, once again, I don't really have a horse in this race. I'm not a huge Harry Potter nerd or anything. I've enjoyed the movies enough. The past movie, I thought it was okay. It had some funny stuff in it, you know, it was alright. So this one, I don't have too much of an opinion about. I'm a bit indifferent either way. But what I will say is that, number one, I think the fact that his Voldemort snake was originally like a human woman is stupid. I think that is one of those things where they're trying to explain something and give backstory to something that nobody asked for. So I think that is ridiculous. But on the other hand, I do think that it is kind of cool how they're going like in a really dark direction with this series. I think that if the series goes like in a more dark direction that's like more mature, I think that there's potential there. So same thing as the Bumblebee movie, where I'm not super excited for this, but there was some stuff that was kind of cool. I might check it out at some point. So there you go. If you're a huge fan of Harry Potter or the Fantastic Beasts movie, more power to you. The last trailer I want to talk about is actually a horror movie that, although the trailer came out a couple of months ago, there's this channel that I follow and that I will talk about later that he covered it, and I feel it's relevant with Halloween coming up. And basically it's called Hellfest. And Hellfest looks really interesting, I'll admit, because basically what Hellfest is, or at least what the trailer shows, it's about this girl that goes with her friend to some sort of like an amusement park that's like Halloween themed, or I don't know if it's just because it's Halloween. I don't know. The point is some sort of amusement park that's like Halloween themed, and I think it's relevant and it's interesting because I know that lately in the last few years, there have been like amusement parks and like places that have popped up that try to blur the line between like horror and reality. Like they make you sign waivers because apparently they'll do all sorts of crazy intense stuff to you. It's about trying to see like how much you can handle, and Hellfest kind of seems like that. It's a really interesting concept where it shows the girl and her friends. Like there's this guy who looks like he might kill them, I guess. And I think it's interesting the way where, I mean, the trailer doesn't tell us the full story, but I think it's kind of cool how I'm guessing that it's going to really play on that. It's going to really play on the blurred lines between horror and reality. Is the guy really trying to kill her? Is it part of the amusement park? And, you know, maybe it'll make us think that he's a real killer and that she should be careful, but maybe it'll subvert that. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but it looks really interesting. And I think it has like a limited, I don't know if it's a limited release or a full release. I actually forgot to look it up. Sorry. But I know I had seen that it was going to come out at least in some places. I think, I want to say today actually. Yeah, Friday. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to have like limited release or full release. But if you like horror movies, I would say it looks promising. So yeah, that's that. I don't know. I just thought it seems interesting and it seems relevant because with Halloween coming up, there you go. It might be a cool watch. Moving on to TV news, I had two stories I wanted to share. The first is that Mystery Science Theater Season 12 has a release date. If you watched the Season 11 that was, kickstarted and came out on Netflix and you enjoyed it, then there you go. You can look forward to watching Season 12 on, what does the article say? Thursday, November 12th, which is actually, American Thanksgiving. So yeah, if you enjoyed Season 11, there you go. There's more Mystery Science Theater 3000 goodness. And yeah, it's actually interesting because it also says here that it's also the 30th anniversary of Mystery Science Theater. So that's pretty cool. And I mean, I guess I've been assuming you know what Mystery Science Theater is. If you don't know what Mystery Science Theater is, it's this show that basically originally came out on Comedy Central and the Sci-Fi Channel. And it's basically this show where there's this guy that sits down with some robots. Because you have to see the lore, but it's this guy who sits down with some robots, watches crappy, public domain movies, and basically he just tears them apart. They do what they call riffing, which is basically where they just sit down and talk crap about the movie and give funny comments about it. It's kind of what inspired a lot of like Let's Players and a lot of stuff you see now on YouTube, so that's kind of funny. And yeah, Season 11 had like a new host, and it's like a totally different format, but, some people enjoyed it. I thought it was all right. I'm looking forward to seeing more, so check it out. The second news story I want to talk about is that Daredevil Season 3 had some images released, and basically what the images show is Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, and he is dressed in his old ghetto costume, which is basically just him with a black shirt tied around his face. I don't know why he doesn't have his Daredevil costume, the red one with the horns. I didn't watch The Defenders, so maybe I missed that. But for whatever reason, he's in his ghetto costume. It also shows him with Karen Page, which Karen Page is a lady that he saved, and she went on to help him in his law office as like a legal assistant, and they kind of have like a romance thing going, I guess. I mean, I'm not too sure. I'm not too excited to see her and him reunited. I don't think she's that interesting of a character. But whatever, that's what they showed. The thing I am excited for, though, is that there's some images of Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, and I'm excited to see him back. Because although Season 2 was really good when the Punisher was on screen, the second half, where it was all about weird ninja crap, I just wasn't interested. I thought it was really dumb. I was hoping that they would go back to Wilson Fisk, which they didn't. He's great. The guy who portrays him, how do you say his name? Vincent D. Vincent D'Onofrio. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. That guy, the way he portrays Kingpin was great. Like, even though Kingpin is this guy who's basically just this bald guy who's taller and bigger than average with no superpowers, the way he portrays him is crazy. He makes him so intimidating, so scary, yet charismatic. So I'm glad that they're going back to Wilson Fisk, because Wilson Fisk is just a really good character. Like, the way they portrayed him was an awesome character. The way that actor Vincent D'Onofrio plays him is super scary, super intimidating, super cunning and charismatic. So it'll definitely be interesting if he has to go toe-to-toe with Wilson Fisk again. So I don't know. We'll see how the season goes. Like I said, for now, it's just images they showed, but I guess we'll see. I'm excited for it. There was this story that came out that it's not confirmed, which is I'm not going to talk about it too much. But basically, if you've been watching My Hero Academia, you should know that it's about to wrap up its 3rd season. And there was this story talking about how supposedly the 4th season got announced. Like I said, it wasn't confirmed yet. And honestly, even if it wasn't confirmed, I wouldn't say it's that big of a deal because, the show's doing so good. Why wouldn't it get released? You know, it would seem very dumb if they didn't continue with the success. But there you go. If you've been enjoying My Hero Academia Season 3, hopefully a Season 4 gets confirmed soon. You know, I see no reason it wouldn't, so. And yeah, that's it for news for this week, guys. Those are the stories I brought to the table. That's what I had on the docket. Hopefully it was entertaining in some way, or interesting, or informative. Hopefully listening to me talk and rant on and on wasn't too painful, but if it was, don't worry. Moving on. It's time for the 3rd segment, which is the Content Creator Spotlight. And basically this week, I have 2 content creators I want to talk about. The first, I should have probably asked her how you pronounce her name. I want to say it's Omili. It might be Omili. Damn, I should have asked. But yeah, I'm just going to say Omili. So Omili is this music creator that I discovered on a subreddit. It's called the Nintendo subreddit, which is this great subreddit full of like really friendly people. It's a great community, and basically you can share like Nintendo videos, you know, anything Nintendo related, you can share it on there. And so I was on there because, you know, I share some of my like Nintendo videos on there when I do like Switch reviews. And basically she did, I'm not remembering what the video was exactly. I want to say it was like some sort of a remix of a Zelda song from like Majora's Mask. Like I said, I'm not remembering exactly, but it was something of that style. And I was just really impressed because I just thought it was really good. And if you go to her channel and her SoundCloud, she creates all sorts of really awesome music. You know, sometimes it's remixes, sometimes it's covers, sometimes it's original content, but she makes really good stuff. And sometimes she even does animations too on her YouTube channel. She doesn't do those as much. You know, I guess she's more music centered, but yeah, she even does some good animations too. So like I said, you should check her out. I know right now at the moment, she's not putting too much stuff out on her YouTube because she's been busy with university and work and that kind of stuff, but she is awesome. I definitely recommend you check out her stuff. In fact, that song that you hear at the beginning of the podcast, and we'll probably hear at the beginning of every podcast, she made that for me. You know what I mean? I reached out to her and I told her, hey, I'd be interested if you could make like a short little 15, 20-second song for me for my podcast, and she was more than happy to do it. You know, she made a few actually, and she let me pick and everything, and I picked one of them, and that's what you hear in front of the podcast, and I'm really grateful to her, and I think that her stuff is great. And I know maybe I'm rambling a little bit, but like I said, check her out. Her stuff's awesome. Her channel will be linked in the description below. The other channel that I want to talk about, this guy, oh man, how do you describe this guy? The other channel I want to talk about is The Movie Void, who's a friend of mine. I've mentioned him in a past video about this tag that he tagged me in about movies that are so bad they're good. And this dude, it's hard to describe him because I don't know, he's just such a unique person. Like, don't take that in a bad way. I mean, in a good way, he's just so unique. If you check out his channel, like I said, his name's The Movie Void. He just does all sorts of stuff on his channel that you can tell he does because he's trying to have fun. You know what I mean? Like whether it's his I Hate Sundays blog, where he, you know, goes to concerts or film festivals, or he reviews movie trailers, or he's doing reviews on stuff like Teen Beach Movie or Riverdale. I mean, he just does whatever he wants, but like in this really fun, comedic way where you can tell he's enjoying himself every step of the way. Like he has this little stuffed unicorn named, oh my god, I'm forgetting, Carlos. I'm sorry, I almost forgot Carlos. I'm sorry, Movie Void. He has this little stuffed unicorn named Carlos that comes out in his videos with him. And like, even though he's like reviewing like really grisly stuff because he likes to focus on horror movies, Carlos makes appearances and it's hilarious. Like if I had to suggest one video from his channel, I would probably suggest what has been my personal favorite so far. It's him reviewing The Strangers 1 and 2. He did that a couple weeks ago, and it's just this hilarious video where he's just tearing those movies apart, talking about how stupid they are and how the decisions the characters make are so dumb and how the direction and directing is so dumb because there's stuff that doesn't make any absolute sense. And it's really funny because in the review, as he's reviewing, there's these little cutaways to Carlos, and Carlos is knocking on people's doors just like they do in The Strangers, and it's just really funny. You gotta check him out. He is a great guy. I mean, he took the time out once to mention my channel because he enjoys it, and so since then I've just felt so indebted to this guy, and you gotta check him out. He's a great guy. His stuff is great, and like I said, once again, I'm kind of rambling, but his channel will be linked in the description below. So yeah, guys, that basically brings us to the end of the podcast. That's 3 segments down, 1 to go, but as I said, the last segment, so to speak, is the end credits. So, if anyone is still listening, which for all I know, everyone clocked out like 10 minutes in. If you're still listening, please give me constructive criticism. Don't be shy. Leave a comment in the comments section below. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. Tell me stuff that you think I can improve on. Maybe, tell me if the pacing was off. Tell me if the segments feel weird. Like I said, these are the segments I want to do, but for all I know, in the future that might change. Basically what I'm saying is, give me any and all feedback. I'd appreciate it. I just want to get better. I want to be more entertaining for you guys. So don't even worry. Be as harsh as you have to, I guess. Hopefully I won't cry too much, And yeah, with that being said, one last thing before I go is that I want to say that I know I didn't put a video up this last Wednesday, which, I'm disappointed in myself. I apologize because I've been trying to put out a video every Wednesday. I've been trying to really stick to that schedule, but I just got really busy with the podcast and personal life stuff. And so hopefully I have something coming out this week. I gotta admit, I don't even have any idea yet, which is not a good sign at all. But, tune in. Hopefully there'll be a video. And likewise, tune in next week for the second episode of the podcast. And with that being said, the song that I'm going to pick for the end credits, well, it's not even credits. I don't know why I said credits. It's literally just going to play. It's going to be the same screen. Sorry, guys. But basically, this ending outro song, I wanted something relevant, because there's so much music I want to share, but I thought it should be something relevant to the channel. And so I thought long and hard. And basically what I came up with is that if you have been following this channel long enough and you remember what is the first thing that I reviewed, then the song should make sense. So with that being said, thank you for watching/listening. My name is Wannabe Reviewer, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.